Hello, everyone. God bless you. I hope this day finds you well. We want to continue with our Father's Day series today. We're going to have topics concerning issues that affect the fathers of today. We're going to be continuing to feature people, special people, this month for the whole month concerning Father's Day. And during that time, we will have people expressing their thoughts, their opinions, good word, good sound doctrine on being a father, what their views are as far as being a father, concerning their fathers, what they feel about different things. And we just want to be a blessing to those that are fathers. We want to say Happy Father's Day, which for this month, for all those that are fathers. We want you to be blessed by the words of regular people that are sharing real views concerning fatherhood. And so today we're going to continue on, and we have a special guest in the house. Happens to be my son, Casey. Come on in, Casey. Casey is going to share some things with us concerning fatherhood and some things that are going on today. We're going to have a conversation, and hopefully we can get some insight. Casey, of course I'm biased because you're my son, and so there's some things I may not pose to you that I may pose to others. But you being a young man, you're a father now, you have a daughter, and you're growing up, and you're in the generation now. You're a grown man, and you're in that generation now where you're going to see things that I'm not going to see. You're going to carry on the legacy of the fathers, the grandfathers that went before you. And there are a lot of things that are going on today. We have the pandemic, we have the protesting, we have all these issues kind of compounding all at once. And everyone's being affected by that. And no one's being left out. So we want to kind of get some insight on that from you, being a father during this time. And so what we want to start with is I just want to ask you, being a father now, what are some of the challenges that you face from an everyday life standpoint? Things like balancing work, things like balancing your social life, et cetera, et cetera. How do you handle the fatherhood aspect now? I know that's a new phase in life for you now. So what would you say concerning that?
It gets tough at sometimes. My daughter has a mental disability and cerebral palsy. So balancing work and a lot of her appointments and just dealing with her life alone is a lot. It's not a burden, but it's definitely something big that's on my shoulders. She sees doctors a lot of appointments. Not as mobile. She's 7. She'll be 7 in a few weeks actually. So she's tall. She's still small, but it's tough to carry her around a lot. But my job, where I work, they understand. It's a family company. They understand, and they've been with me for a while since my daughter was about 2. So they know her issues, and I don't really have a problem balancing work as much. I take off when I need. I always put her first. Any appointments that she has, either I or her mother will take care of it. So as far as balancing that, not really an issue. It gets tough sometimes just with her condition. She's not the happiest at all times, but I'm just proud to always be there for her and not abandon her. So.
All right, that's awesome. Because my next question was going to be how you view that part of your life as more of a burden, or more of a responsibility, or more of a blessing. And I'm hearing you say, hey, it's a lot of responsibility, but I'm happy to be able to do it. I'm glad to be here. You're proud of it. It's more of a blessing than it is a burden.
Right.
But it does pose some challenges, but what I'm hearing also is that in your life there are people that are willing to help you in that situation. Your job is understanding, and you often hear young people passing off the children today, to the grandparents. The grandparents are raising, or the great grandchildren, or somebody else is kind of footing the bill, taking care of the children, while they kind of indulge sometimes in the social life. When you're a young person, that social life is very important. Yeah. And so it's important to note that there are people and jobs that are willing to work with you. I guess you have to be doing the right thing too. As an employee, I think it matters if you're doing a good job. Right. And so would you say that partly contributes to the fact that they work with you the way they do, how you perform on your job?
Yeah, I mean, I give my job the same respect as I give my child, because if I don't, I can't feed my child. So I've always been respectful and honest with them about anything. They've known her trials and tribulations from the beginning since I first started working there, and you know, they don't mind. They understand what I go through. So yeah, I mean, they trust me to do the right thing, and I, you know, always do the right thing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, some people may not know, you've been promoted on your job. So tell us a little bit about what that promotion has meant to you in your life.
Well, it's meant a lot. I actually wasn't with them too long before I got promoted. I've been with the company about 5 years. We do fireproofing, fire stopping, and abrasive blasting. I was in the field doing the majority of it for about 4.5 years. I was just recently promoted in November of 2019 to project manager, and what I do now is I oversee all of the jobs. I manage them, make sure they get done, make sure they get the proper people to do the job, make sure that we stay under budget, make sure we make money on a lot of these jobs, and it's helped me a lot. I was given my own personal company vehicle to drive around, so I'm not driving my vehicle as much anymore. I'm free. I'm not out of town as much anymore. So, when I do have appointments that I need to take my daughter to, I'm able to do that. I'm able to take her to therapies. I'm able to leave early and come back whenever I need to. I'm more free now because I'm not actually in the field working, at a job site for 8 to 10 hours or longer. I'm not out of town, on a weekly basis or monthly basis now. So it's been real easy, to cope with being a father and doing my job. So.
All right, that's awesome. That's a great testimony because, I work in the electrical field, so I'm around a lot of construction workers, contractors of the sort, and and so I've dealt with project managers on big jobs, and I know a lot of those guys. Most of the project managers either come through the ranks, they've been in the field, they've been working those types of jobs like forever, or they go to school. I know a guy that goes to project management school, and so he's working with the contractor there, expecting someday to be the contractor or to be a project manager on large sites. So is that something you went to school for this promotion?
No, I actually came through this particular company through a temp service, and I just worked hard and became full-time with them. And I just I knew nothing about this trade at all. Most people don't know what fireproofing is or fire stopping is, and neither did I. I just worked hard, and got the experience and just kept working hard. I never was looking for the project manager title or the job. I just was coming to work to provide for me and my child. So
awesome.
It's been a nice road, and all my hard work has finally paid off, and I'm just gonna keep going until I get to the highest I can go.
Amen. That's awesome. Now, do they give you little training sessions or schooling as you go now that you have been promoted?
Well, I've been to a few different trainings out of state for the actual materials that we apply. I haven't done any like management training or classes or anything like that. I've been a manager at another job before what I'm doing now, so I'm kind of used to it. But it's a small company. I got a small group of guys. We have maybe max 15 people that work on our part of the company. So I mean, it's easy to manage, and most of the guys that are with me now are young, either fresh out of high school or close to my age. So personalities and egos and stuff like that is something that I'm used to. So it's easier to cope.
Okay, that's pretty awesome. That's a testimony to how God can take a person that typically has to go through a certain process in order to get a certain type of job, and you just bypassed all that. You're just a testimony of a person that if you work hard, you can achieve what you want and get what you want, and you certainly have done that. And now, what would you say, based on what you've gone through? What would you say to those that say that there are people don't want to see you get ahead? There are people that suppress you. There are people that put obstacles in your way so you can't get ahead. I know that's not a generational conversation there. That's across the board. We hear that from the elderly people that are retired, ready to retire. Plus, we hear it from the younger people. And so a lot of people complain about people having control over where they go. What would you say to that?
Well, that may be true in certain people's circumstances or instances. Um, Personally, for me, in this with this company, I haven't seen any of that because, I never looked at that as a problem to me. I always went to work to be a hard worker. I mean, I was raised, I started work early. So I've always had that gene in me to go to work and work hard. So anything that I get, I feel like I've always earned. I've never really seen, me being blocked from any blessings because, you can't deny hard work. You can't deny dedication. And I've never been one to look for someone to give me anything or have my hand out. I've always gone out and got it. So, me personally, in this instance, I would have to say that, with the company I work for and the people that I work for, they've never put any obstacles in front of me to try to hold me back or anything like that. I know it does exist. It never happened to me because, I just work hard. I mean, that's pretty much it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Because you hear oftentimes people say that people have a sense of entitlement now. They think that people are supposed to just give them whatever they want. They want to start at the top on a job. They don't want to work for it.
Right.
And so what you're saying is, if you believe if you put your feet to the metal and you work hard, that there's no denying you.
Right.
All right. That's awesome. That's a great testimony. That's good advice, I would say, for the upcoming generations, because I know we see a lot of that. I see a lot of that in the field where guys want to come through. They say they want to work, but it seems like they just want to get the paycheck. They don't want to work hard for it. Right. And so we need people that realize that you can get what you want by hard work also. Right. And not college is. I would say college is great, and I'm sure you would agree. But you also show that there are some ways that you can still get ahead, even if you're not college material or if you don't go to college, right?
Right.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. All right, so let's move on to our next segment here. Now, what are your thoughts on how the young people today, we know we have the protests going on, we know we have a lot of issues with law enforcement, we know that there are a lot of things that we feel people are being unjustly abused by, and the system is not working sometimes. But what we see today is we see the young and the old involved right now. We see the young people out there during the protest movement. And we hear it, we see it on Facebook, we hear it on Facebook, we hear it on all social media, on the TV. Everyone's talking about certain things, the coronavirus, the pandemic that we're facing, and everything else going on in the nation. It really seems like everything's compounding, a lot of stuff going on at one time, doesn't it?
Right.
And so, what is your take on just the people in your age group, in your generation? What is your take on them getting involved, and do you think that that we're going to play an important role with that generation in the decision making of this country?
Yeah, I mean, I think, especially this new generation, they're fearless. They really don't care much about anything, but they do stand up for what they care for. And with the corona going on right now, it's kind of bittersweet, obviously, because people are sick and dying, but it's also sweet because everybody's at home, everybody's on their phones, everybody's watching TV, so the entire world is seeing what's going on right now. With no sports, it's not much going on, so you really don't have any other choice but to see videos of police brutality, all day long on, TV. You see signs everywhere. I mean, everybody's out and nobody's in school, nobody's doing anything, so, this is what you see, and people are just tired, and they're, we're finally making a stand, and this stuff has been going on for years and years, but when you see it every day, people are just getting fed up.
Mm-hmm. So do you think the movement, the protest, the signs, the words that we're sending, do you think that we're sending a message that's going to cause change for the future, that's going to make things better for your generation?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I don't think it's going to happen. It'll probably happen more later than soon. But, I mean, you can see now, governors are making changes in states that they should have made, years ago. But voices are being heard. I do think it's definitely going to start changing some things. But unfortunately, you're still going to have a few bad apples that are not, some things just won't change with those. But as a majority, I think some things will improve, and hopefully they do improve.
Okay, all right. Now, I recall an instance where you actually were involved in an incident. I remember very vividly getting a call from you on a case where you were in the car with some of your friends. You were much younger. I think you guys were still in high school, and you got stopped, and the police were searching the car, and you felt that you were unjustly being treated at that time, and I remember the conversation we had, and things seemed like they may have been escalating on the phone, from what I was hearing, and I was kind of like, keep calm, try not to do anything to make the situation worse. And so you've been involved personally, where it's not like you're just looking from the outside. You've been involved personally, where you've seen instances where you felt you were profiled and unjustly treated. Would you like to share anything about that instance that you were involved
Well,
in?
I've been in a few instances. Unfortunately, I'm unapologetically black, but unfortunately to police officers, we're black. So whether we get pulled over for doing something or not, most times, 9 times out of 10, they're more aggressive than polite with you. I've actually been in a vehicle with my child in the back seat, and been asked to search my car, and I have a child in the back seat. While I sat on the pavement, my child was still in the car seat. So, and that was just for being pulled for having 10 on the front window.
Okay.
10 on the front window can make you a drug dealer in their eyes, or you could be a suspicious person because you have 10. When in fact people of all colors have 10 on their vehicles, but for whatever reason we get profiled the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Really nothing much you can do but comply with the officers, even when you yell, or you do what's right within you. You get 3 or 4 cops that pull up behind you. It just makes it this terrorizing scene that if you make one false move, then that could be it.
Mm-hmm.
So many people go through that, and even worse than I've been through. And unfortunately, people die from it. We see it all the time where, whether you did something or not, because you're black or because you may look like somebody, or they think that you've done something wrong, that could end your life.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. So even if you know the law, you know your rights, and you're in the right, do you think it's better to just state your case at another time if you have to end up in court, where you are in a better situation possibly, than to make an issue of it at that time, because the situation may get worse depending on the law enforcement officer that you're dealing with?
Yeah, well, to me it all depends. Especially when you've done nothing, and they're arresting you, and for a fact that you've done nothing. I don't see why a person is not able to argue with a cop just like you would argue in court, and not be beat up or shot or whatever. Most cops, if they think you've done something, they don't give you a chance to explain yourself. Mm-hmm. It's usually, come with me, we gotta go. But it all depends on the situation. If you were speeding and you don't think you were speeding, I don't see a reason why we need to get belligerent with cops. I understand that they do, even when it's just a speeding ticket. Something like that where you can walk away from it and come back at a later time and fight it. Honestly, it all depends on the day, the time, how you're feeling. Okay. How the cops are acting towards you. But in a situation where somebody comes up to you and say, you look like a robbery suspect, or something like that, and you've done nothing just because you're black or walking down a neighborhood, I don't think it's right that they can just arrest you without having any type of conversation, without finding out who you are, where you came from, where you live. Things like that can de-escalate situations and get you out of the situation.
You should be able to voice yourself.
Right.
You should be able to state your case if you haven't done anything wrong, and they should have a listening ear, instead of passing judgment then.
Right.
All right. And I tend to agree with that. You know, I've always been like an argumentative type guy. You know, if I've got something to say and I'm not being rude, I feel like I have a right to voice my opinion. And I believe that we should be able to not be silenced.
Right.
I believe we have a right to speak just like anyone has a right to speak.
Right.
And so I appreciate you sharing that with me, because I know what you went through is real, is common. I know a lot of people have that similar story to tell, and a lot of stories we don't hear about that. You know, a lot of times we don't see these stories until they end up on social media or they go viral. But a lot of our people, a lot of our children are facing the same type of challenges. Right. And so I think it's important that the viewers know that this is more common than uncommon, and that we do need a change. And so let's flip the script a little bit. Let's hit a better note. So if you had to think on a subject, what would you say is probably your most memorable experience or moment as a father?
I don't know. There's so many of them.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I knew I hit you in the
yeah,
curveball there.
I don't know. There's so many of them.
I know the birth was a great one.
Yeah, of course,
so.
that's always a great one.
Absolutely.
But, I don't know. My daughter's been through so much, so to see her come out of everything, you know, each different time is just, you know, it takes the cake every time. But I just love being her father. I wouldn't trade it for the world. So.
Awesome. Well, you know, we always talk about that. You know, Darlene and I always talk about how, you know, we're proud of you. You do a great job. You stick in there, you know, with your child, and it doesn't matter how many challenges come forth, you know, and as a father, you're going to be there. And I would say that's a very important thing with fatherhood. I know a lot of times fathers get a bad rep. You know, we get the label of a deadbeat if we're not there. You know, we get a lot of flack if we don't have the money to support our children. And so there are a lot of categories and stereotypes that come with being a father. And so it's good to know when someone is going to stick in there and do what they can, you know, whether the times are good or whether they're hard. And so we appreciate that. So what would you say to the young fathers out there that are struggling, that have the issues with they got, you know, the baby mama drama, as is commonly talked about, and you know, they're dealing with issues of seeing the child, not being able to see the child. You know, one thing good about your situation is you're able to see your child. A lot of young men, you know, they go through those issues where they don't feel like they have the rights to see their children. Some of them don't push the issue to see their children. What kind of advice would you possibly give, or what type of encouragement would you maybe give to the fathers that are having difficulty being who they want to be?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not easy. You know, I've been through a share of my own issues, but you know, when you make it about your child, it's much easier. You know, me and her mother don't see eye to eye all the time. You know, it's probably a lot more than should be, but you know, one thing you couldn't deny is we always, you know, try to do what's best for our child. You know, one thing about the women is, you know, they feel like if you're not there from the beginning, then you're never going to be there. So, you know, for the ones that are having kids, I mean, you got to be there from the beginning. You have to, you know, you got to take care of your child. I mean, it's not much more to that. To the ones that, you know, that don't see their child or have issues, I mean, you got to do what you got to do to see your child. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, you know, you wouldn't want to grow up without a father or mother. You know, you should want the same for a child. And, I mean, you know, that's how I feel. I mean, I know it may get tough. You know, some people's situations are worse than others, but I feel like if you're always trying and you're showing the mother that you actually care and want to be in the child's life and not just, you know, trying to get the child, you know, to get back at her for whatever reason. I mean, if you're really truly doing it, you know, for your child, I'm pretty sure if you keep, you know, doing what you're doing, it'll all work out.
All right. That's good word. That's good word. Amen. Well, I've enjoyed the conversation. I appreciate everything you had to share. I believe you blessed some people You're real, transparent, and that's what we need today, folks. We need people that are willing to share their testimonies, people that are able to be real and willing to help others in their endeavors, because people are struggling today, but there's a good side and there's a victory in every situation. And I just want to thank you, Case. I love you, man. And look, we're going to release you, and I'm going to speak a few words to the group while you exit. And I just thank you again, man, for being with us. And so for the fathers out there, in conclusion today, we just want to say, be encouraged. You guys are the backbone of the nation. Don't sell yourself short. We need you. Your children need you. Your family needs you, and we love you. And so we want you to continue to be encouraged. And so stay with us as we continue on with our series with the fathers for Father's Day this month. We continue to lift them up, and we continue to give them the platform that they need so that they can be a blessing to the community and to the nation. Amen. Hallelujah. Thanks for joining us.